President Donald Trump's war with Iran hasn't exactly been a rousing success so far. And much of the American public expects that the conflict's end, whenever that will be, won't change that. Polling in recent weeks paints a picture of an American public that is over it. People didn't like the war to begin with. They don't think it will result in much positive, and they don't seem to expect significant concessions. Or at least, concessions that were at all worthwhile. In short, there's not a lot of faith that Trump has a good way out of this war. The Memorial Day weekend offers some insight on that perspective. There were some of the most significant signs to date of actual progress on a deal to end the war. But as the details leaked out, it became clear they were complete non-starters for many more hawkish Republicans. Some of those Republicans even cautioned the deal could leave Iran stronger than before the war. And if Iran sticks to its hard line, it's not clear what deal might allow Trump to both save face and end the war before it becomes even more of a problem for the GOP. Multiple polls suggest people just want it to be over. A Fox News poll last week showed just 39% of registered voters wanted U.S. military operations to last as long as it takes to achieve U.S. objectives, compared to 61% who instead preferred a limited time frame. Similarly, a New York Times Siena College poll showed 52% of registered voters said the United States should end military operations even if it can't reach a deal with Iran on its nuclear program. Just 37% wanted to resume military operations if the countries can't come to an agreement on Iran's nuclear program. And that latter poll and other data reinforce that Americans aren't exactly optimistic about an acceptable deal. Instead, it seems they are liable to look at anything that is produced skeptically. The Times Siena poll said just 22% thought the war would be very successful at eliminating Iran's nuclear program, a program which, it bears re-emphasizing, the Trump administration has already claimed was obliterated last summer. Another 18% thought it would be somewhat successful, while 50% expected it to be unsuccessful. Likewise, 65% of Americans were not so confident or not at all confident that a deal to end the war would stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons, which has been Trump's repeated red line, per a Washington Post ABC News poll. And nearly two-thirds were only somewhat confident or less that the administration would accomplish its goals in Iran, according to a recent Pew Research Center poll. Even if a deal is cut that includes reasonably favorable terms for the United States, that doesn't mean Americans will view them as being worth it. Registered voters said 55% to 21% that the war will not be worth the costs, according to the Times Siena poll. Polls have also routinely illustrated that Americans think the war will be counterproductive on several fronts. The Post ABC poll showed Americans said 61% to 11% that the war has increased the risk of terrorism against Americans, 56% to 12%, that it has risked weakening U.S. relationships, 49% to 21%, that stability in the Middle East will get worse. Even if Trump does defy the odds and manages to get a favorable deal for the U.S., he has another critical problem. Americans no longer trust him on this issue. If you enjoyed watching my content, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon, setting it to all, so that you are the very first to receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching.